The sound wasn't a scream. It was a snap, a sickening dry crack that silenced the hum of the Boeing 777's engines and froze every passenger in the elite cabin. Elena, a 12-year-old girl sitting in seat 1A, looked down at her arm, which was now bent at an unnatural angle. Standing over her was Beatrice, the lead purser, her face twisted not in horror, but in sneering triumph. Beatrice believed she was disciplining a stowaway to protect the airline's prestige. She had no idea that the man deadheading on this flight, Captain Marcus Thorne, wasn't just the company's most senior pilot. He was Elena's father before the wheels touched the tarmac. He wouldn't just ruin Beatrice's career. He was going to dismantle the entire airline. The morning sun glinted off the fuselage of the skyward global jet as it sat at the gate of a bustling international hub. Inside the first-class cabin, the atmosphere was a hushed sanctuary of fine crystal and soft upholstery. Elena Thorne adjusted her backpack. It wasn't a designer bag, like the luggage stuffed into the overhead bins around her. It was a simple, slightly worn canvas pack with a patch of a vintage propeller plane. She was a girl with deep-set eyes that held a quiet intelligence. Wearing a comfortable hoodie and jeans, to the untrained eye, she looked like a child who had wandered into the wrong neighborhood. She checked her boarding pass again. "Seat 1A, excuse me." A sharp voice sliced through the ambient music. Elena looked up. Standing in the aisle was a flight attendant, who looked as though she had been carved out of ice. Her name tag read Beatrice. Her hair was pulled back so tightly it looked painful, and her uniform was pressed to a razor's edge. She wore her authority like a weapon. "Yes," Elena said, her voice polite. Her father had raised her to respect crew members. They were the guardians of the sky. "This is the first-class cabin," Beatrice said, her lips barely moving. She didn't ask for a ticket. She stated the location as if Elena were illiterate. "Economy boarding is through the second door. You need to keep moving. You're holding up the line." Elena smiled nervously. "Oh, I know I'm in 1A. She held out her boarding pass. Beatrice didn't take it. She snatched it with a scoff, scanning the paper, her eyes narrowing as she read the name Thorne. It meant nothing to her. Skyward Global had thousands of employees, and Marcus Thorne was a legend who flew the most difficult long-haul routes, rarely mingling with the junior cabin staff. Beatrice, who had transferred from a boutique luxury carrier, only cared about status and CEOs. "This must be a mistake," Beatrice muttered. "System glitch, upgrade errors happen. Move along, it's not a mistake," Elena said firmly, though her heart began to thump. "My dad booked it. I'm flying to meet him." Beatrice let out a short, derisive laugh. She looked Elena up and down, the canvas backpack, the sneakers, the dark skin in Beatrice's world. People who looked like Elena didn't sit in one. Listen," Beatrice hissed, her voice dripping with condescension. "I don't know what scam your father pulled, but I'm not having a child ruin the ambiance of my cabin. We have dignitaries on this flight. Move, I have a ticket." Elena insisted, reaching for the pass Beatrice was holding hostage. Beatrice pulled it away. "I'm moving you to the back. You'll be more comfortable with your own kind." "Less pressure, no," Elena said, standing her ground. She was a Thorne. Thorns didn't back down when they were right. "I'm sitting in 1A, a businessman in 2B. A man named Mr. Sterling lowered his newspaper. Is there a problem here?" he asked. "Just a ticketing error." Beatrice cooed, her voice instantly changing to a sugary falsetto. "We have a stowaway trying to claim a premium seat." She turned back to Elena, the sugar vanishing. "Last chance, move now." Elena sat down and buckled her seatbelt. It was a defiant click that echoed in the silent cabin. Beatrice stared at the buckle. The defiance broke something inside her. She leaned in, invading Elena's personal space. "You think a seatbelt protects you?" Beatrice whispered. "You little brat. You're going to the back if I have to drag you there myself." The plane had finished boarding. Doors were closed up in the cockpit. The active pilots were running the checklist. Captain Marcus Thorne was in the jump seat, hitching a ride home to surprise Elena for her birthday. "My girl is in 1A, Marcus told the pilot. "An old friend named Captain Miller, first time flying up front alone." Miller laughed. "Don't worry. My crew will treat her like royalty. I've got Beatrice today. She's efficient." Marcus frowned. He'd heard rumors about Beatrice, complaints about an elitist attitude, but nothing that had ever stuck. Back in the cabin, the engines began to spool. Beatrice marched down the aisle, seeing Elena still sitting in 1A. Looking out the window made her blood boil. It was a power trip she wanted to show the wealthy passengers. She was the gatekeeper of their exclusivity. She stormed up to the seat. "I told you to move," Beatrice shouted. The cabin went silent. "We are taxiing," Elena said, her voice trembling. "I can't unbuckle. We are not moving until you are in your assigned section." Beatrice lied. The plane was already pushing back. "You are violating safety regulations. Get up, no," Elena shouted. Beatrice reached out. She didn't go for the buckle. She grabbed Elena's left arm. "You listen to me." Beatrice hissed, her nails digging into the fabric of the hoodie. You don't belong here with these people. You belong in the back with the trash. She yanked. Elena screamed. Let go, you're hurting me. Get out of the seat, Beatrice screamed back. Losing all professional composure, she braced her foot against the base of the seat and pulled Elena's arm with the full force of her body weight, trying to rip the girl out of the belt's grip. But the belt held. Elena's body was anchored. Her arm was not. There was a horrific mechanical leverage created by the angle. Beatrice pulled up and out, twisting the limb against the natural rotation snap. It sounded like a dry branch breaking in a winter forest. Elena's scream changed. It wasn't a protest anymore. It was a primal shriek of agony. My arm, my arm. Elena wailed, her face draining of color. She slumped sideways, her arm dangling at a grotesque angle. It was a spiral fracture, brutal and excruciating. Beatrice stumbled back, letting go of the limp limb. She gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. Oh my God. A junior flight attendant screamed from the galley. Mr. Sterling and Toby jumped up. What the hell did you just do? He roared. You just broke that child's arm. Beatrice's eyes darted around. Panic set in. She resisted. She attacked me. It was self-defense. Elena was sobbing, curling into a ball. Daddy, I want my daddy. Beatrice grabbed the interphone to call the cockpit. Desperate to spin the narrative, Captain Beatrice said, her voice shaking. We have a situation. Passenger in 1A became violent. I had to restrain her. There might be an injury. But she's dangerous. We need police. In the cockpit, Marcus Thorne felt a cold dread wash over him. 1A, he whispered. Miller, that's Elena. Marcus ripped the headset off. He didn't wait for permission. He stood up and walked with the heavy predatory stride of a lion. He stepped into the first-class cabin. Beatrice was standing over Elena, trying to force the sobbing girl to stop crying. Shut up, you're disturbing the passengers. Marcus stopped 3 feet behind Beatrice. He was a large man, an ex-military pilot. His presence sucked the air out of the room. Get away from her, Marcus said. His voice was low, rolling like thunder. Beatrice spun around, sir. Return to your seat, this is a crew matter. Then she saw the ID lanyard. Captain Marcus Thorne, Chief Safety Inspector. She froze. Marcus looked past her down at Elena. He saw the arm, he saw the tears. Daddy, Elena cried out. Marcus dropped to his knees. I've got you, baby. He looked up at Mr. Sterling. What happened? She tried to drag her out, Sterling said, pointing at Beatrice. Because she didn't believe she had a ticket. She pulled until it snapped. Marcus slowly stood up. He turned to Beatrice. Captain Thorne, I didn't know she didn't look like a... She looked like what Marcus asked. The volume didn't rise, but the temperature in the cabin dropped. She looked like what Beatrice... I was just following protocol, she stammered. You broke my daughter's arm, Marcus said, because you didn't think she belonged in first class. He turned to the junior attendant, medical kit now splint and ice. Tell Captain Miller we are returning to the gate immediately. Marcus turned back to Beatrice. You are relieved of duty, sit in the jump seat. Do not speak. If you look at my daughter again, I will throw you off this plane myself. You can't do that, Beatrice shrieked. I am the senior safety inspector for this airline, Marcus said, stepping closer until he towered over her. And as of this moment, I am declaring this aircraft unsafe for operation. Due to crew incompetence and assault on a minor, I'm grounding this flight. The return to the gate was a funeral procession for Beatrice's career. Inside the cabin, the silence was absolute. The other passengers were no longer travelers. They were witnesses. Mr. Sterling had his phone out recording everything. The video was already being uploaded. As the jet bridge connected, Marcus didn't move from Elena's side. He had fashioned a makeshift splint. Holding her arms steady, Elena had gone into shock. Her skin clammy. It hurts, Daddy. The cabin door opened. Paramedics rushed in, followed by Port Authority officers. Beatrice suddenly stood up, putting on her victim face. Officers. That man, he stormed the cockpit. He threatened me. The officers turned to Marcus. He looked at the police, then at Beatrice. Officer Marcus said, my name is Captain Marcus Thorne. That woman just broke my 12-year-old daughter's arm because of a ticketing dispute. I want her charged with aggravated battery. He's lying, Beatrice shrieked. She wasn't resisting. Mr. Sterling's voice boomed. I have it all on video. The flight attendant verbally abused her, then physically assaulted her. It was unprovoked. The sergeant looked at the video, then at the sobbing child, and finally at Beatrice. Ma'am, turn around. Hands behind your back, Beatrice gasped. What? No, I am a senior employee. The metal clicked, a cold echo of the bone snap earlier. As they marched her off, she passed Marcus. You're finished, Thorne. The company will protect me, Beatrice. Marcus said. By the time I'm done, there won't be a company left to protect you. 3 hours later, Elena was out of surgery. They had inserted a titanium plate. The nerve damage was severe, but she would keep the arm. However, her dreams of the violin were likely over. In the waiting room, a man in a charcoal suit approached Marcus. This was Julian Vane, the fixer for the private equity firm that owned Skyward Global. Captain Thorne Vane said smoothly, "We are devastated. Beatrice has been terminated. Here is a check for $200,000 for immediate expenses." He slid a document across the table and a standard non-disclosure agreement. "You want to buy my silence," Marcus said. "We want to resolve this amicably." Vane smiled. "If this goes to court, it gets ugly. We'd have to bring up your past. Your stress leave. Take the check. Let us handle Beatrice." Marcus reached out and took the check. Then he slowly ripped it in half. "You looked into my file, Julian, but you didn't look deep enough. I took leave because I was meeting with whistleblowers regarding your maintenance cycles. I know about the deferred engine checks on the 777 fleet." Vane's face went pale. "That is confidential." "It's a death sentence," Marcus whispered. "You're flying planes with microfractures because you wanted to boost the stock price. Beatrice breaking my daughter's arm was a crime. But flying those planes, that's mass murder. Tell your board they shouldn't worry about my lawsuit. They should worry about the federal audit I just triggered." The next morning, the video of Elena's arm snapping had 50 million views. But the real storm was at the Aviation headquarters. Marcus walked in with the head of the pilots' union and a stack of files. He wasn't there for a personal complaint. He was triggering the nuclear option. He formally declared a systemic safety failure. "This isn't just about my daughter," Marcus told the director. "Look at the logs. They skipped the non-destructive testing on 20 aircraft." The director reached for the red phone. "We need an emergency grounding order for the entire Skyward Global fleet." The order was issued instantly. Chaos erupted at airports worldwide. Gate agents watched screens flash red. In the corporate boardroom, the CEO watched the stock ticker fall off a cliff. Skyward Global was trading at $60. An hour later, it was $10. The legal fallout was a massacre. The Senate convened a hearing in the mahogany-walled room. Marcus sat with Elena, whose arm was in a heavy blue cast. Across from them sat the airline's executives and a disgraced Beatrice. The executives tried to claim Beatrice was a lone wolf. But then the video played. The sound of the snap filled the Senate chamber. The room went deathly silent. That Marcus's lawyer shouted, "Is the culture you created profit over people?" Marcus stood up and presented the emails, proving the company had threatened him for flagging safety concerns. "My daughter will never play the violin again," Marcus said, his voice cracking. "But because of her, thousands of people are safe on the ground today, instead of in a plane with failing engines. You didn't just break her arm, you broke your own empire." The CEO was sentenced to 12 years for fraud and endangerment. Beatrice was sentenced to 5 years for aggravated battery. The airline declared bankruptcy and was liquidated. 3 years later, Beatrice was working the late shift at a lonely bus station cafeteria, her face a permanent fixture on most hated internet lists. She watched a young woman walk by, confident and free. Beatrice was grounded forever. Meanwhile, at a small private airfield, a yellow plane taxied into position. Elena sat in the pilot seat. Her arm had a long scar and she could no longer play music. But her father had modified the controls. "Ready, Elena?" Marcus asked over the radio. Elena looked at the horizon. "Ready, Dad." She pushed the throttle. The little plane gathered speed and soared into the endless blue. She wasn't a victim, she was a thorn. And as she broke through the clouds, she knew that no one would ever be able to drag her down again.